I figure, okay, Real God, it's going to get taken out. Let's see what I can do here. I get a nice thing on there. And I'm going to use my ultimate here, do some damage. And Karthus does flash over. So now I'm in a bad spot. I don't think I can actually get Karthus. So I come in here and I'm like, well, hopefully he's still at the tower. He hasn't ran bottom. And there he is. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to try to get Karthus as best as possible. I come up here. And look, I accidentally stopped moving. I failed so hard there. I get the kill, but Karthus gets the kill on me. And Vayne gets taken out down bottom by Shaco and Eve. I failed. I derped so hard there and did not continue moving, meaning that I got hit by Karthus' Q. And it did so much damage to me that I would have survived otherwise. But that just screwed me up completely. So it just feels like I'm not gaining any ground. Any kill that I'm getting is either met with a death or 2 deaths on my teammates. So, you know, I don't feel like I'm having a stupendous game. I actually feel like I'm having a pretty terrible game in that, you know, it would be okay if my teammates were doing okay at the same time. But, you know, considering that I'm like the best on the team and I'm 6-4-1, I'm not in a happy spot. And I'm not a happy camper. I wanted to win very bad. And I actually, the game before this, I had a loss again. And it wasn't even a close loss. It was very one-sided. So I was like, man, I just want to win. So I decided that I'm going to go into pretty much as hard of try mode as possible here. And continuously farm as much as possible, get my Trinity forces as quickly as possible, and just try to carry this team as much as possible. Now I do see Vayne getting red buff. And I make the decision that it's more important for me to have red buff than her at the moment. Because I am able to make those plays a little bit easier than she is. So I do take the red buff here. And she does make a comment about it. And at this time, I can't actually hear her say anything. So I'm not worrying. I know she'd be mad at it. And yeah, it may have been a kind of irritating move. And look, I hope Vayne is being moving. I figure she was because she stopped moving. But it didn't really matter. I just thought that I could make the most use out of red buff. And look, here comes Graves. I'm going to end up hitting him, slowing him down, hopefully making something happen. Graves gets knocked up in the air, and we're making something happen here. So yeah, red buff came in handy there. I was able to slow him down, and now we're having to force Karthus to go back. Karthus gets pushed back, does not get taken out there, and now Sexy is in trouble. So I decided to come in here, do some damage to kind of push, you know, of course, miss little Eve away, and Sexy gets out. Oh, but here comes the ultimate. And there's a double kill. So, again, every time I feel like we're making an advancement, we get behind. So now I'm in trouble. So I end up popping my spells there, get some good, decent damage on that Eve, and Eve decides to back out wisely with 2 of us there. I did some pretty good bursts, so I'm coming over here thinking that I'm trying to bait her out because I feel like I can W again and then just kind of get away if it gets hairy. But I'm also going to come up here to see if Eve, yeah, see, Eve tried to come out. And I was trying to see if I could E over, but I don't know if I can either E over or just, you know, I clicked it wrong, and I wasn't, unfortunately able. I would have E'd into a Q and then ignited her for hopefully the kill. iStarburst here, though, making the decision to chase after the Eve does not actually continue it on, unfortunately. If we look at the creep score now, we have 52 for Amumu, 143 for Vayne, 166 for Nidalee, and 109 for R8. I am only sitting at 73, unfortunately. Support Wukong, not so good. And then we have Karthus at 102, but he's at 10, 2, and 7, already having a death cap. We have Caitlyn at 165, Graves at 165, Shaco at 87, and Evelynn at 36. So we know they're all on him there. We know that they're trying to kind of get something going here. And I think they actually stole blue buff, perhaps. Or maybe they had already stolen blue buff and we were just clearing out those creeps. I was checking that with my W, just making sure that nobody's there. And there was no Shaco boxes stuck up. iStarburst does encounter the Evelynn. And I start coming down here. We do see a little bit of poking action going on. I'm going to go in and do a nice uppercut there on on Shaco. Shaco does get caught, and I do end up taking out Shaco. I do ignite him to make sure that he does not actually deceive away. But again, 1 for 1. We're not making too much, headway here, other than me getting some kills. Pretty much the simple fact that, we're just trading blows. And they're still so far ahead that we're having issues with that. So look at this Grave. Graves flash, and I know we're not going to be able to catch him. I don't want to waste flash for that. And, oh, Sexy does end up catching it, and then gets a double kill. So Sexy redeeming himself quite nicely there. Getting that double. I don't know what Eve was thinking. And now I'm thinking, you know, there's a possibility we could come back from this. There's a definite possibility. They were making some pretty stupid mistakes. They're getting a little bit too ballsy. And I like to call that the Rambo effect. When you think you're so far ahead that you're going to win the game, that you just start doing anything to win, you know, that you think is funny. So look, Shaco starts BMA saying that stop giving our team hope and surrender. And I tell Shaco that I'm going to go for him every time. I'm making my personal vendetta to go to Shaco for every single time I possibly can. And I pretty much hold true to that. If we look at Creamy's items, he almost has finished his Warmogs, you know, and then he's going to get Atmas and Paling. I believe Trinity Force is another key item of that. Sleps is going in here to try to possibly look for the Caitlyn. No such lucks. And yeah, this Shaco is just trying. I think Shaco knows at this point that, you know, there's a possibility that we can come back, but he's trying to make sure that, you know, just lose hope and stuff like that. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try my best. I almost have Trinity Force. I only need like 150 more gold. And now we have, of course, the Karthus, who's out of position. And I'm going to be going on this Karthus and hitting him pretty hard here. He's forcing in a flash, but I'm going to flash on top of him because I know how much he is worth right now. I know he's worth quite a lot. And look at this. Getting from behind that Shaco, I'm going to end up doing my W. But I do get it taken out. So again, 1 for 1. Now it's 2 for 1. Soon to be 3 for 1. 3 for 2. So we do see a flash there. And unfortunately, Ahri gets taken out as well. So we're back when it started. 2 for 3. It's still in their favor, unfortunately. And again, you're not going to get away, Shaco. Going to make sure that he dies as many times as possible. And I'm trying to carry, you know. He's selling his face so hard. There goes Vayne. I mean, you can see how back and forth it is. How much this game does not feel like we're making any headway. Because it feels like every time we get a kill, I'm around for it. And then we end up losing a teammate or two. And if you look at the actual, you know, scores of towers, they've got how many, you know, ever dragons, then we only have 1 tower. And now we have a teleport here from Karthus pushing up that bottom tower, and now we're just further behind again. So now look, they're at our inhibitor tower. They're pushing this super hardcore. Nidalee is nowhere around, and Ahri's right there. So it's 3 versus 4 at this point, which is presumably Shaco close. So I feel like this is the turning point in the game. This is where I'm trying to wait for them to bunch up as much as possible so that I get a nice circular. I'm waiting for Nidalee. Here comes Nidalee. And I decide that this is my time to act. There goes the nice little charm off on Ahri. And look at this. Coming in here, getting a knock-up on all 3 of them. Coming in here, taking out the Karthus as quickly as possible and taking out the Caitlyn. And then I'm like, I'm going for you, Graves. You're going to die. And I was super confident that I could take out this Grave. So I come down here. Graves starts taking me out. I use, and look, a deceive at the last second, or not deceive, a decoy at the last second. Prevents me from dying at 10 HP. Get all 3. It's basically a late triple kill. And I don't know why I went this way. I could have so died to the freaking pie on the ground. That pie, I could have so died. And I was like, anyways, literally I said out loud, anyways, we're going to do this. So it looks like we're going to go ahead and get our first dragon of the game. So this is the turning point. And even Shaco realized at this point, you have a chance. The thing about their team is, while their team has a high amount of damage, the longer this game goes on, the harder it is for them because we get innately more tanky. We have 3 people who are pretty tanky. We have the, of course, AD Nidalee with all that HP. We have an Amumu, and we have me as Wukong. And now I'm building a Force of Nature to counter Karthus and to counter, of course, the Eve. Take this trap out, just kind of clear it off. Going to, again, continue farming, can do as much as possible. And we kind of go into this lull mode here, where basically we're just kind of... I didn't feel like we were in a position where we could push out or do something of severe worth, because the simple fact, yeah, we did stop them here, but again, we don't have, you know, we don't have any more towers. In the rest, they're already back up, and it took too long for us to clear out Graves, so we're not in any kind of position. But they are pushing, we do know that, and we don't have any ward at Baron, which is very, very bad. But there's the ward again placed by Creamy, so nice timing there. And look, I find the Karthus, and I end up pushing her away, using my decoy there. Karthus having to back off there, taking a lot of damage, which is, again, in our favor. And at this point, I'm pretty confident, yeah, we can make something happen here. Something can definitely happen. They're very squishy. They don't have a real tank. And they don't have a lot of good initiation. They have a lot of burst damage, but our initiation is much better simply for the fact that we have a Mumu as well as me as Wukong. So Mumu's getting oracles, which is good so that we can see Shaco as well as, of course, Eve. We have a Shaco box placed right there. We're just going to keep waiting it out just a bit, just long enough. But now we have Sexy here in a bad spot. But Sexy does a good job here with Creamy to actually kite them as much as possible. Creamy now is in a bad spot, but Creamy is so tanky. Creamy's coming up here, kind of kiting them around, and I'm like, they're pretty, you know, yeah, and very squishy. So a nice little charm there goes off, and look, here I go into a 3. I'm pretty sure that was a 3. Getting another double kill, coming back in here, taking out, of course, the yeah, there we go. So taking those out, and I die unfortunately, but Karthus goes down. And now it looks like Graves is having to back up, unfortunately. Trying to do a nice little job of trying to kite because he knows he can't get away, but there's the ace. So now it's 24 to 32. They're still 8 kills ahead, but we just aced them. And now we can make a significant push on mid, get our second tower of the game, and maybe see something happens. And Shaco's like, sigh, I've lost. And in fact, he even admits all that talk he did is down the drain. I'm feeling pretty good at this point. I'm feeling, yeah, we can definitely win this game. This is a very winnable game at this point. They are not tanky. They're very squishy. They don't have any kind of definitive, you know, initiation or anybody that can really take the hits, and they're getting too bunched up. The thing about it is, because they're so bunched up, the Amumu Cry and my ultimate are just kind of wrecking them. We do have a Shaco here trying to take out the Ahri. And we do have Nidalee kind of sacrificing herself in order to get the tower. She does flash, and she is going to start jumping away. Does take a hit there, and now Shiv. But I'm coming up here just to provide her some support. She is taking a lot of damage. Gets a Deathfire Grasp to the back, but does end up getting away. So nice job on her getting away. Creamy does a good job this game. She starts off really slow, and in fact, I'd have to say out of everybody, she did the second best. Or not second best. She did, you know, besides me, she was like the best player. It did take her a while because AD does take a while to actually start. But now Sexy is in a bad spot. It was down below, and now it's going to get cut up, having to flash over. And let's see if she actually gets taken out. I don't actually remember. Oh, unfortunately, she does get slowed there. She's running as fast as possible. Shaco is trying to chase her, but now he's having to back out because he knows that we are coming. So again, we don't have a lot of ward placement here. And this is something that I could have done better this game, is put out a little bit more wards. But I was just so focused on trying to get those damage eyes. I'm just trying to carry us in those team fights. I may have not had the most damage, or I may have not contributed the most as far as you know, specific damage to a high priority target. But I did my best with my initiation, with my ultimate, and then just trying to like focus down the Shaco, those really squishy high priority targets. So not a perfect game, but we're doing all right now. It's going pretty well. And look, we need new wards. You know, I'm keeping track of that. I did end up buying a Elixir of Fortitude because I thought that it's going to be extremely useful, seeing that I have only 2,000 HP and they have that high burst. And now look, Karthus is out of position, having to back up. I use my clone here just to make sure that I do get back in base. And now we're in a position where, you know, if we have a bad team fight, they could again push into our inhibitor. So a bandage toss missed there by Mumu, unfortunately. And one thing that Mumu really had trouble with this game is using his ultimate on the right targets. He used his ultimate on a lot of clones and a lot of nothing a lot of times. So while he did get those crucial items, and I feel like he tried his best, there was some faults to be had there. Karthus again just taking out those creeps, making sure that we don't actually push out too far. If we look at it item-wise, we have Nidalee here finishing out her Trinity Force. Vayne just has a Zeal and a Bloodthirster. Also opting to get a Quicksilver Sash for the stun or slows. We have Amumu going for his Frozen Heart as his first few major items. He does also have a random Giant Spell. You know, Karthus most fed here with, you know, Rod of Ages, Revenant Death Cap, Void Staff. Again, we're just pushing back out here. I'm level 17. Amumu's level 14. Vayne is level, what is Vayne? 17. So Amumu the lowest on our team. Lowest on their team is, of course, the 2 stealths. Nice little spear there, trying to pick off a little bit of the HP of the squishies. Creamy here, just making sure that I don't get any substantial creeps pushed up there. So again, this is just the lull point, but I figure at this point this is when we should initiate. You know, they don't have really a significant advantage. Our team has got some major items now through that farm period, and I feel like this would be the best time for us to shop. I mean, that's the best time for us to initiate and engage. We do have a red buff on the Vayne. Vayne now does have her Phantom Dancer, so we're in a pretty good spot. I feel like this team fight can go pretty well, and unless they just catch us completely off guard, I feel like we have a significant chance of winning this game that you could have said 20 minutes ago I had thought we had no chance of winning. So we're going to group up here, and we're going to start pushing out in the middle. The reason I bought a Elixir of Fortitude is because I didn't have a ton of gold at that point. I figured that the best purchase at that time would be, of course, an elixir. If you have about 400, 300, 400 gold, and you know you just finish out another key major item, and you don't have any like enough gold to do another large purchase, so say like a pickaxe or something like that, if you're going for like a DPS, there is a fight going on. Sorry, I'm missing that. Catching an Eve off guard, now having to flash Karthus. Creamy does end up getting taken out, or does end up hitting that pie on the ground. And now Karthus being attacked quite heavily by Sexy there. Sexy then going, of course, for Caitlyn. Caitlyn having to back out. Sexy having to watch out, though, getting quite a lot. I ended up picking up an Oracle. So I picked up an Oracle and a Red Pod. And now we're pushing in for perhaps a win. We're going to go get Baron first, though, because that's a pretty significant little buff that we can use here and just kind of solidify ourselves even higher. Still 6 kills behind, but at this point, kills don't matter as much. At this point, we have solidified that no matter how long the game would go, if we continue to play like this, we'll have the upper hand and the victory just due to the amount of tankiness and initiation that we can actually do in those team fights. We're having a lot better team fights. They were picking us off a lot easier in early game when it wasn't so much big team fights, but we're doing quite a big job. Quite a good job. And look, Amumu ultis the clone. Ah, Amumu. What's Amumu's score right now? 0, 10, 16. So, Amumu not having a good game, unfortunately. I see that Jack in Box I do end up taking out. Oracle is going to put me in a good place here so I don't have to worry about any kind of jump from Eve. Oh, sorry, I was yawning there. Shaco does come over. I do see Shaco, so I decide that I'm going to go in here. He has to flash, unfortunately, but I flash in there and get a nice ultimate on the Caitlyn. However, I do not actually take out the Caitlyn. Oh, there I do. She stays right there for some reason. We get a nice charm there on the Karthus. Now Karthus is in a lot of trouble, and there is some good poke there. However, here comes the ultimate from Karthus. Does not end up taking any of us off here. And now we have to see a Graves being forced back. Ice Starburst dying yet again. So much BM happening in this game. I don't know how we won this game. There's so much rage-inducing moments that people were just like getting so frustrated. I was getting frustrated. We were all getting frustrated in this game. Creamy here, though, taking the tower. For what reason, I don't know. A charm goes off on the Shaco. I go in there. He deceives right at the last second, so I can't actually Q him, because that would have killed him. And I decided that I'm going to push mid here. There's no point in me waiting. I don't know what Shaco's doing. He has to force to go back. Bottom is getting pushed quite substantially. Look at that big creep wave. And I'm going to continue to push here mid. Looks like Vayne had run into something. I did see Eve just a bit there. But, you know, she knows I have Oracle, so she's not going to push out. We do also know that Dragon's up. But Dragon is not important at this moment. Pushing these towers is the most important thing. And I'm just trying to do as much damage as possible. I do take quite a lot of hits, but we did get the tower out less than half, which is extremely useful. Sub's getting slowed there, and now Eve is going in on there, and now we have to force it back up. So using her ultimate, Sleps, of course, Ahri getting away, so slippery. Vayne is now in a bad spot here, having to fight Shaco one-on-one, and now Graves is coming up, does bust her ultimate out so that she does get away. We're going to end up coming from the side, though, hopefully. And I believe they are still doing red buff. No, she did get red buff. Okay. So we're going to come around here from the side and perhaps catch him. Oh, and the Eve is out of place. So I end up getting the Eve there, knocking up the Graves next. And this has pretty much solidified our victory. They're not going to come back from this. Oh, excuse me, a burp. And with that Oracles, I'm really glad I bought that Oracles because it really puts us in a great place against those squishies. In fact, I would have had to say that the Evelynn, although she did go AP, although she did have a good early game rather, going AP really hurts you late game on Evelynn. You see a lot more ADs, I think, more often, simply for the fact that AD Evelynn just scales better late game than AP. Because with AP, yeah, you do good damage, but for example, if people are really tanky, or if they have a lot of magic resistance, then it negates that completely. Oh, nice little speed there, taking a lot of damage. Slips goes on to Rampage there, taking out the Caitlyn. And now Vayne looks to kill the Shaco. And at this point, it's fodder time. We're just, putting them in the barrel and shooting them out as quickly as possible. Destroying that bottom turret. And at this point, I know that we have the game. We're in here, we're taking out inhibitors, and it's GG at this point. Karthus can't really do anything, There's 2 people dead, 3 of them are up, but they're all squishies. A nice little charm in there again. Goes in, and again, just death and destruction. And a double kill going off there on Vayne. So Vayne having a bad early game, but end up coming back, and what does she end up being? 8-8, so, at least breaking even. I end up going 14-6-11. Not bad. 8-6-12 Ahri, 4-2 Nidalee, and 0-11-21 Amumu. On their team, they had a 4-7-12 Shaco, 10-8 Graves, 12-8-13 Karthus, 2-5-5, and 5-6-12. So not a bad combat, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the commentary. I hope this game was entertaining. And yeah, don't give up. There's always a chance to win, especially if you have a better late game comp, which is exactly what we had in this game. So guys, this has been Spunkify out. I'll see you later.